Hey y'all, welcome back. My name is Crystal and I've got another book chat video today. I am going to wrap up the rest of April. I did a video previously where I wrapped up the first 6 or 7 books that I read in April. So we're going to chat about the rest that I read. I ended up reading 17 for this month, so very excited about that. So let's get going and let's chat about some books. Let's start with The Last Astronaut by David Wellington. And I really loved this one. It's a sci-fi, but it does have a sort of horror lean to the story. Essentially, we've got this object that's been hurtling, it's been kind of coming through space, and we've been keeping an eye on it and tracking it and everything, and like we know it exists. But all of a sudden, it starts to decelerate as it is, kind of getting closer to Earth. So that's like, something is going on here. So, of course, us being the humans that we are, we get a command together and we send some crews out to check out this object and, try to make contact, see what's going on, check it out. So we basically have 2 ships. One is led by a NASA, and then there's one that's a more private, space company, kind of like our SpaceX of today. And that crew actually reaches the object a little bit before the NASA crew. But that's okay. But they do try to keep, communication between the 2 spacecraft to, see what's going on. Have you made contact yet? Have you made contact yet? That kind of thing. And so, but the other ship is not, kind of responding to the NASA crew right now. So maybe we should just go over there and check it out. So they go over to the ship and no one's on there anymore. Perhaps they've gone inside the object. So of course, being the humans that we are, we decide, the other NASA team says, let's go in and follow them, and maybe they need help, maybe they need to be rescued. So they go inside the object, and our story goes from there. And what's inside the object? I don't know, but it's dark, and it is kind of spooky, and it's really good. So again, I gave this one 4 stars. I really liked this one. Highly recommend the audiobook. It has like little sound effects and like eerie music playing in it sometimes. And then there's instances where there's like recorded messages, and those sound like recorded messages. I don't know if that makes sense of how I'm explaining that, but it just really added another layer to the story. So I really liked this one. So if you like your sci-fi with a little bit of spooky, I definitely recommend this one. So let's see. Then I read Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. I had a library hold come in for this one. And I guess I've just been in a little romance mood this month because I read a couple earlier in the month as well. I get like that. I won't read romance for a long time, and then I'll just I'm in the mood, and I'll read like 4 or 5 in a row, or in like a few weeks, and that's what happened here in April. But that's fine. This is just a really cute story, kind of rom-com-ish type story with an actor and a what's the word I'm looking for? A fan fiction writer of the show that the actor is in. And the story goes from there. It's cute and fun. So if you're looking for something cute, definitely recommend it. This was a lot of fun. I gave it 4 stars. Alrighty, and then I'll pair these next 2 together. I read Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This one reread for Rachel over the Shades of Orange, her book club. And I think a lot of people know what this one's about. Murderous mermaids, but this one we have another crew that's been assembled, much like our space story, and they are going to check out the Mariana Trench, where a previous crew disappeared, leaving the ship empty, and what's really happened over there. So they said, well, let's go check it out again. What could go wrong? Famous last words. Things can go wrong for sure, including murderous mermaids. So this was a lot of fun. It's, you know, it reads kind of like a action movie kind of thing, but it does have some science in there, and characters are pretty interesting. I gave it 3.5 stars. Again, it was a lot of fun. And then once I read that, I read her novella. That's sort of a companion, I guess, to the story. I think she read the novella first, so essentially it is a prequel. This one goes into the story of what happened on that first excursion to the Mariana Trench. So if you want to read both, I'd say read them both, but if you're only going to pick one, I would say just read Into the Drowning Deep, because it is a longer book, and so you get a bit more story with it and a little more murdering. So it was fun. Alright, I then finished out The Warmth of Other Suns by Isabel Wilkerson. There's a subtitle for this one too, The Epic Story of America's Great Migration, and talks about just what that says. It talks about how most African American people in the South, you know, after slavery ended, and in maybe those like early 1900s or so, and then really continued on until like the 1960s, just left the South and migrated to like points north and west. And so this is a nonfiction piece, obviously, but it's told in a really nice way. We follow really 3 people through 3 different decades of when they left, and we follow this man named George, who lived in Florida, who then migrates to New York City. We follow a woman named Ida Mae, who lives in Mississippi, I think it was, and she migrates to Chicago. And then we follow a man named Robert, who I think he was from Atlanta, I think he was from the Georgia area, and he moved all the way out to California. So we talk about things, of course, prior to that, what was happening in these parts of the, you know, parts of the South during that time period. Why did people decide to leave? What was it like for them to leave? What was it like when they got there? Because, of course, it, like, you know, wasn't always, you know, they weren't always welcome there either, and they definitely still had some struggles once they got there. But really, very informative. I think it just definitely plays a way into how the sort of landscape of our country looks today. And I thought it was very informative, and I really recommend it if this is, you know, something that you're interested in. I really, really liked it. And the audiobook was done really well, and yeah, very recommended. I gave it 5 stars because it was very well done. So if you're into a little bit of history, definitely recommend. Let's see. Oh, I finished this one, you guys. A Clash of Kings. I thought it was upside down. A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. I finally continued on with this series. I read Game of Thrones, I think, like 2 years ago. I mean, I'd already watched the show and everything, and I wasn't going to read the books, and then I was, and then I wasn't, and I said, I might as well. I picked them up at thrift stores, so I had it, so I said, let's do it. So I listened to the audiobook, of course, because, I don't know, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. And it's, you know, it's Song of Ice and Fire. This basically follows, like, season 2, and, you know, it's the second book in a series anyway, so high fantasy, that's pretty brutal at times, but Arya is my ride or die. I love her character. I will always love her character. I love her particularly in this book. Yes. So I gave it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. Oh, I had another romance book, you guys. Zenny by Rebekah Weatherspoon. Another just cute kind of rom-com story. We've got a marriage at convenience, which I think is always fun. Basically, Zenny's aunt passed away, and in order for her to inherit money, she has to, like, marry this Scotsman who, you know, seems like not her type. They had to stay married for at least 30 days for them to both get some money. And, you know, the aunt was right, because they're totally perfect for each other. And yeah, it was cute and fun and super steamy. So if you're looking for a steamy one, this is it. And then I finished up a series, you guys, and this is someone who, like, I don't finish series very much. I'm just not good at that. I'm very good at starting them, not good at finishing them. But I finally read The Last Town by Blake Crouch, which is book 3 in the Wayward Pines trilogy. And it was so good. I loved this series from start to finish. I mean, you know, read Pines, which is the first one, and you think one thing's going on and something else is happening, and then our story goes from there. You know, the gist is we've got this Secret Service agent who wakes up in this small town called Wayward Pines. It looks like he's had a car accident, you know, and so he's kind of milling his way through town trying to figure out what in the world's going on. Something doesn't seem right about this town and the people that are in it. And yeah, something's not right about this town and the people that are in it. And so our story goes from there, and we find out so much more. Of course, as the series goes on, I really have loved this series, and very happy to check mark that box of a series completed. I mean, wow. I gave it 4 stars. I loved Pines. I gave that 5 stars, I think. But the series overall, fantastic. Really, really highly recommend. So yeah, tons of fun. And that's gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna do a separate wrap up for Halloween-a-thon, talk about the 3 books that I read then. But that's what I read. That's to finish out April. Thanks so much for watching and putting up with my awkwardness. And let me know what was some favorite things that you wrote in April. I'd love to chat in the comments with you. Thanks as always for watching. I'll check you in the next one. Bye.